2022. Sorry again.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay. Attendance this evening is by Zoom or in person at City Hall Auditorium, room 218, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Instructions for Zoom are available online at www.torringtonct.org/Zoom. There's a link there to join the Zoom meeting. Phone number to call in 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID is 795-950-7035. Passcode is 907148. Agenda item 2, serving on this commission this evening is Greg Parasino, Diane Carroll, myself, Greg Mealy, our city planner, Jeremy Leifer in person. Serving remotely is Starley Arias, Tom Tellman, Donovan Riley, and Jim Babinski. Moving on to agenda item number 3, minutes for approval for May 25th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the minutes.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Tom Tellman.
I abstain too. Greg Mealy.
Donovan Riley also abstains.
So moved. Moving on to agenda item number 4, old business. A, site plan 1407, applicant Michael Leonard. Location 2865 Winston Road. Proposal retail sales and storage usage, first floor only. We need to table this application. I have a motion.
So move to table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Moving on to agenda item number 4B, site plan 1410, applicant Borghese Building and Engineering, location 360 Technology Park Drive. Proposal construct 15,456 square foot greenhouse. Is the applicant in attendance?
Yes. Mark Borghese, President Borghese Building, representing new opportunities for the project on 360 Technology Park.
Thank you. Please give us an overview.
Okay,
What you're
well,
looking for.
we met a few weeks ago, but basically what it is, Jeremy, you're going to call up John?
Yeah,
or- Okay. Almost there.
There we go. One more. Oh,
There.
there we go.
You just scroll over, you can see the second one that went to Bill. All set?
Yes.
So we originally built a building, a steel building that has a greenhouse attached to it. We are now going to add a second greenhouse of 15,000 square feet plus or minus that will have a corridor connected to it. That corridor is also made out of what's called greenhouse material to continue to produce what they're doing now. Everything right now is kind of site, the grade is set for us to do this second building. Drainage is going to be tied into the existing drainage. And it's pretty simple. I'm not sure what else you guys would be looking for questions.
Give us a minute to peek at the plans
Sure.
here. Minute mark. Thank you.
So nothing has changed since the last time you presented, right?
No, nothing's changed since the last time. Same building.
Obviously, the existing greenhouse is up and running and the need is there to enhance the operation with additional
Correct.
facility.
Correct.
Did you say this one was maxed out too? Where
The one that's there now or the new one?
No, the new one would max out the property, no.
No,
That's the other-
there is, we could do a third greenhouse,
You could.
so to speak, to the lower, what is it, north of the property.
Where's this grade to blend with existing grades? That
Correct.
section there? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any questions that are remote this evening?
I'm good.
No.
Thank you. Anyone? No? Okay. Jeremy, you have a memo there
I do.
that you can read in, please?
All right. In reviewing the application plans and documents submitted, I have the following comments. Borghese Building and Engineering has filed an application on behalf of the business owners at this property, Connecticut Food for Thought, Inc., to construct a new 15,456 square foot greenhouse at 360 Technology Park Drive, tax assessor map 245, block 002, lot 103. The proposed greenhouse will be similar in size and construction as the recently completed greenhouse on the property approved under site plan number 1325. The proposed greenhouse would be connected to the nearby warehouse and processing building by a 225-foot long and 16-foot wide connecting corridor. The property contains a recently completed office, processing plant, and hydroponic greenhouse constructed under the previous commission approval. The property is owned by Technology Park Associates LLC and consists of two adjacent parcels. The first, 360 Technology Park Drive, is 8.75 acres in size, and the second is a 4.49 acre vacant parcel to the south of the first parcel. Both parcels are located in the IP Industrial Park Zone. The proposed greenhouse, processing, and hydroponic farm uses are permitted uses in the IP zone per section 3.1, subsections 5.80, 12.10, and 19.00 of the zoning regulations. Plans submitted are titled New Opportunities to 360 Technology Park Drive, Torrington, Connecticut, 06790 by Borghese Building and Engineering Company, Inc., Torrington, Connecticut, dated March 28th, 2022, 2 sheets. The zoning information table on sheet SP1 indicates that the proposed buildings meet the required setbacks, lot coverage, and that the minimum parking requirements are all compliant pending the combination of the two parcels. Staff has met previously with the property owner and engineer to discuss the project prior to this meeting. Other items of note, the current plans have been submitted are missing an engineer's stamp and signature. 2, the greenhouse as currently proposed will cross boundary lines between parcels. In the zoning table, the applicant indicated the intention to merge these parcels to form one parcel. 3, the sediment basin to the rear of the property is filled with accumulated sediment due to property erosion and is in need of cleaning and maintenance to continue functioning as intended. Other staff comments. Wetlands. Nearby wetlands are greater than 75 feet away from the proposed work on the property. Therefore, no wetlands permits are required for this application. This constitutes a favorable wetlands report for this application. Landscaping, no additional tree or shrub landscaping is proposed or recommended as part of this application. The applicant should plant grass or other ground cover for stabilization over the remaining undeveloped portion of the subject properties upon completion of this project. Lighting, no additional lighting fixtures have been proposed as part of this application. Any new lighting to be installed on site shall be full cutoff fixtures and shall be in compliance with section 5.17 of the Torrington zoning regulations. Signage, no new signage is proposed for this project. All new signage shall be permitted in conformance with section 5.15 of the zoning regulations. Any new proposed signs of over 32 square feet will require site plan approval. Conservation Commission, this application was not referred to the Conservation Commission for review and comment. Architectural Review Committee, the ARC reviewed the application at their May 19th, 2022 meeting. Items discussed at the meeting included the building construction, possible noise abatement from air circulators, and the landscaping ground cover on the property. The committee voted to make a positive recommendation on the project due to the similarity of the project to the current structures and greenhouse on the property. Engineering, Paul Kunzen, city engineer, in an email to me dated June 7th, 2022, submitted a marked up site plan with questions and corrections to be reviewed and addressed by the applicant. In my opinion, these markups are relatively minor in nature and may be addressed by the applicant prior to the issuance of zoning permits. Police traffic. Police Traffic Sergeant Dustin Balbus, in an email dated May 12th, 2022, has offered the following comments on the plans. With the larger greenhouse, is there more employees and will the small lot be able to handle this? Other than that, I have nothing further. Thank you. Fire Marshal Edward Bassetta, in a letter to me dated May 13th, 2022, offered the following comments on the plans. The building should be equipped with a complete and compliant fire protection system compatible with the new construction. The fact that it will be vacant during non-business hours make it a prime candidate for delayed discovery of a fire inside. Torrington makes use of lock boxes to allow quick access by firefighters in time of an alarm without causing damage. If not already in existence, a lockbox should be installed on the exterior of the building near the main door. The fire department will use its secure master key to open the box and allow the building owner to leave the appropriate building access keys inside. This eliminates any delay in entering the building or waiting for a key holder to arrive in the middle of the night. The building and area must comply with all required building and electrical codes and will be inspected by the fire marshal for compliance with life safety code prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy and annually thereafter. WPCA, Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in a memo to me dated May 16th, 2022, offered the following comments. Applicant shall submit an application for a sewer discharge permit, projected water consumption, number of full and part-time employees, proposed use of facility. 2, capacity reserve fee shall be paid prior to commencement of discharge. Fee, if applicable, shall be calculated upon receipt of item number 1. 3, owner shall certify that there is no discharges of stormwater, either directly or indirectly, into the sanitary sewer system from the building. Stormwater discharges shall comply with City of Torrington Department of Engineering standards. A, the owner applicant shall contact WPCA to inspect building for compliance with chapters 170-14 of Torrington Code. B, owner shall submit to WPCA copies of all federal, state, and local permits as they pertain to wastewater discharges. C, contact James Hilton, 860-485-9166 to schedule inspection. Number 4, occupants shall use best management practices to minimize the amount of fats, oils, or greases that are discharged into the public sewer. Number 5, occupants shall use best management practices to minimize the use of phosphate-containing cleaners and detergents. 6, for additional information and questions, contact WPCA 860-485-9166. Building official Kevin Gillette, in a letter to me dated 5/13/22, recommended 1, please provide the following information as applicable when applying for the required permits. Complete sets of IBC Section 107 required construction documents as applicable, prepared by a registered design professional for all work to be performed. Complete life safety plan with occupant load. Complete plan for accessibility, including parking and passenger loading facilities. Complete exhaust and makeup air system plans. Complete mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans. Number 2, subject to review and on-site correction. Number 3, it shall be the duty of the permit holder or their agent to notify the building official that such work is ready for inspection. Conclusion, I recommend approval of site plan application number 1410, 360 Technology Park Drive to construct a new 15,456 square foot greenhouse next to the existing greenhouse on the property with the following conditions and recommendations. 1, the 2 parcels that are subject of this application shall be combined prior to the issuance of a zoning permit for the project. 2, the applicant shall address all remaining questions and plan markups from Paul Cousins, city engineer, in his June 7, 2022 email to the city planner prior to issuance of a zoning permit for the project. 3, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in his memo dated to the city planner on May 16, 2022 with respect to sewer discharge. 4, it is recommended that the applicant follow advice of building official Kevin Gillette contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13, 2022. 5, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Fire Marshal Edward Becerra contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13, 2022 with respect to lock boxes and code compliance. 6, in accordance with section 8.4.3 and 8.4.6 of the zoning regulations, the following shall be submitted to the city planner. A, 2 paper copies of full approved plans, including the engineer's stamp and chairman's signature box. B, 1 Mylar copy of the full approved plan set for filing with the city clerk in accordance with section 8.4.3.p of the zoning regulations. Each Mylar sheet shall bear a chairman's signature box, a copy of the approval letter from the commission, and an engineer's seal and live ink stamp. 7, Mylar sheet shall be filed by the applicant with the city clerk after signature of the chairman and prior to approval of zoning permits to begin construction. 8, per previous conversations with the property owner, the sediment basin to the rear of the property shall be cleaned and maintained prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy for any new buildings on the property. 9, upon completion of the project, the remaining land on the subject properties shall be planted with grass or other suitable ground cover to prevent erosion prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy for any new buildings on the property.
Thank you, Jeremy. Just a quick question. In Jeremy's memo here, it came up on 3 separate occasions. The occupancy load, Mark,
Yep.
what's anticipated, in regards to the parking and fire marshal and so forth?
I can't
Police
speak for
chief.
Phil, but
Please.
I believe there's probably 2 more employees he's going to
Okay.
hire for that second greenhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, like I said, it came up three separate times. I'm
So
sure you'll be
right now,
addressing
if you go to
anyway.
the parking lot, there's usually about 3 or 4 cars at the most.
Yeah.
So an additional 3 cars.
What is it,
for-
just a one shift entity?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
Correct.
thank you. I appreciate that. Any other commissioners have any comments or questions at this time?
I have one. The,
Go ahead, Greg.
regarding the sediment basin, so clearly the sediment basin over whatever time passed has become less functional than it should be.
Mhm.
So this is a great opportunity to correct that, but what I'm more curious about is how do we keep it from going back to what it is now?
So Jeremy and I had probably 2 meetings out there, I'd say, and we addressed it. As part of this, we're going to clean up. As part of this construction, we're going to clean up the existing basin. And then Jeremy and I talked about how we're going to basically regrade the banks and also regrade the bank that's up the hill closest to this building, where most of the sediment was coming from.
Okay.
Especially now that it's kind of established with weeds, grass, et cetera. It's a lot better. When we first did the job, Jeremy can speak for it, it was just kind of a lot of runoff that was going down there.
Okay,
So,
so the cleanup should provide a lot of future, no problem.
correct. And especially now redoing this, adding the addition and redoing that bank that's a part of that addition should minimize the problem for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was just for me to add, and that was part of the reasons for 2 of the conditions. One was the cleaning of the basin, the other one was establishment of a ground cover when they're done.
Okay.
So we can, stop it from happening down the road.
Okay. Any commissioners serving remotely have any comments? No, everybody's good? All right, Greg, you have a motion?
Okay, I'd like to
there?
make a motion to approve site plan 1410 applicant for Daisy Building and Engineering, location 360 Technology Park Drive. Proposal, construct 15,456 square foot greenhouse with the following conditions and recommendations. 1, the 2 parcels that are subject of this application shall be combined prior to issuance of the zoning permit for the project. 2, the applicant shall address all remaining questions and plan markups from Paul Kudzins, city engineer, in his June 7, 2022 email to city planner prior to the issuance of a zoning permit for the project. 3, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in his memo dated to the city planner on May 16, 2022, with respect to sewer discharge. 4, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of the building official, Kevin Gillette, contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13, 2022. 5, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Fire Marshal Edward Becerra, contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13, 2022, with respect to lot boxes and code compliance. 6, in accordance with section 8.4.3 and 8.4.6 of the zoning regulations, the following shall be submitted to the city planner. A, 2 copies of the full approved plans, including the engineer's stamp and chairman's signature box. B, 1 Mylar copy of the full approved plan set for filing with the city clerk in accordance with section 8.4.3.p of the zoning regulations. Each Mylar sheet shall bear a chairman's signature box, a copy of the approved letter from the commission, an engineer's seal, and live ink stamp. 7, Mylar sheets shall be filed by the applicant with the city clerk after the signature of the chairman and prior to the approval of zoning permits to begin construction. 8, per previous conversations with the property owner, the sediment basin to the rear of the property shall be cleaned and maintained prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for any new buildings on the property. 9, upon completion of the project, the remaining land on the subject properties shall be planted with grass or other suitable ground cover to prevent erosion prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for any new buildings on the property.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Thanks.
Moving on to agenda item number 4C, site plan 1411, applicant Borghese Building and Engineering, location 37 Technology Park Drive, proposal construction, 9,360 square foot addition, associated parking and loading dock revisions. Is the applicant in attendance?
Yes, for the record, Rob Blanchett with Borghese Building, representing TMK Associates, which is Whitman Robotics, for their plant expansion.
Let's see if we get this carried up. Better than before. She seconded it.
no, she didn't sign, sign it. Yeah. Probably gotta sign it second. No, just second, because you seconded.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what they're looking to do, and I know everybody can't see it online, but this is kind of color coded just so you can see what the expansion actually involves. As you had said, it's 9,360 square feet. It's off the south side of the existing building, which is highlighted in orange. And then the only other rework for the pavement right here, because we are going to add a loading dock for the addition, is we needed to create a hammerhead and rework the pavement so the tractor trailer has an area to go up, because the issue is there's a 75-foot landscape buffer here, so we couldn't continue that pavement straight down because we would have been in the buffer area. So we went off to the west side of the property to create a hammerhead for that truck to get in. So the only real additions is just the addition of the building itself over here, the pavement for the truck turning area, and then we're adding an additional 5 maple trees as landscaping for the ends of the rows of the parking. And then that would be seated in. We're actually losing 2 parking spaces by doing this. But if you look in the zoning block, there's only 92 spaces required. And even with the deletion of the 2 that we're doing, we're going to have 120. So we're still way over the requirements for parking.
All right, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions so far?
No, this was the project that maxes out, though, right? This is maxed out. This is the one that we talked about last time.
Well, you talked about it. If you had had the meeting on Thursday, I would have been here. I had it in my calendar and
Well,
missed it.
It was presented.
Yeah, Mark.
Mark presented.
Yep, Mark is aware of it.
All right. There. Here, I'll read on it with Greg. We got a couple extras.
Actually, there's quite a few.
I was supposed to send this to you, but I got it done about.
Yeah, I never-
5:30.
Did you get one? Diane's got one. I didn't get one here. That's one.
No.
Thanks.
We're good.
Okay.
Read your memo, Jeremy.
Yes.
Please.
All right. In reviewing the application plans and documents submitted, I have the following comments. Borghese Building and Engineering has filed an application on behalf of the business owners at 37 Technology Park Drive, Tax Assessors Map 245, Block 002, Lot 094, to construct a new 9,360 square foot addition to an existing manufacturing, warehousing, and office building and associated site improvements. The property is owned by TMK Associates of Torrington LLC and is 6.96 acres in area and is located in the IP Industrial Park Zone. The manufacturing, warehousing, and office uses are permitted uses in the IP zone per section 3.1, subsections 5.80, 9.20, and 19.00 of the zoning regulations. Plans are submitted titled Site Plan Whitman 37 Technology Park Drive, Torrington, Connecticut, by Borghese Building and Engineering Company, Inc., Torrington, Connecticut, dated April 18th, 2022, 6 sheets. The zoning information table on sheet SP1 indicates that proposed buildings meet the required setbacks and impervious surface maximums in section 4.14 of the zoning regulations. The parking shown on the plans and zoning chart are compliant with section 5.13 of the zoning regulations. Staff has met previously with the property owner and engineer to discuss the project prior to this meeting. Other items of note: 1, grading and parking is proposed partially on the adjacent property owned by Whitman Battenfeld, Inc. As these are listed under separate ownership entities, a grading easement should be granted to TMK Associates of Torrington LLC for grading and parking work on the adjacent property. Other staff comments: wetlands. Nearby wetlands are greater than 75 feet away from the proposed work on the property. Therefore, no wetlands permits are required for this application. This constitutes a favorable wetlands report for this application. Landscaping, additional tree plantings are proposed as part of the parking lot resurfacing and improvements. The additional plantings are acceptable as presented. Lighting, no additional lighting fixtures have been proposed as part of this application. Any new lighting to be installed on site shall be full cutoff fixtures and shall be in compliance with section 5.17 of the Torrington zoning regulations. Signage, no new signage is proposed for the project. All new signage shall be permitted in conformance with section 5.15 of the zoning regulations. Any new proposed signs of over 32 square feet will require site plan approval. Conservation Commission, this application was not referred to the Conservation Commission for review and comment. Architectural Review Committee, the ARC reviewed the application at their May 19th, 2022 meeting. The committee voted to make a positive recommendation on the project due to the similarity of the proposed addition to the building facade of the existing building. Engineering, Paul Kunzen, city engineer, in an email to me dated June 8th, 2022, offered the following comments on the plans. My only comment is the anti-tracking pad construction entrance should not be located in the middle of the disturbed area. Since it's not practical to locate it on the adjacent paved surface, the designer shall make written provisions on the plan to ensure the contractor will have to make every attempt to clean the site daily and not track mud, earth, sediment, or organic materials onto Commercial Boulevard. Police traffic Sergeant Dustin Baldus, in an email dated May 12th, 2022, has offered the following comments on the plans. Does this addition mean more employees for the business, and will it be able to handle with the existing parking spaces? If there is more parking, is there enough existing ADA handicap spaces for the total amount listed? Other than that, I have nothing further to comment on these plans. Thank you. Fire Marshal Edward Becerra, in a letter to me dated May 13th, 2022, offered the following comments on the plans. The building should be equipped with a complete and compliant fire protection system compatible with the new construction. The fact that it will be vacant during non-business hours make it a prime candidate for delayed discovery of a fire inside. Torrington makes use of lock boxes to allow quick access by firefighters in time of an alarm without causing damage. If not already in existence, a lockbox should be installed on the exterior of the building near the main door. The fire department will use its secure master key to open the box and allow the building owner to leave appropriate building access keys inside. This eliminates any delay in entering the building or waiting for a key holder to arrive in the middle of the night. The building and area must comply with all required building and electrical codes and will be inspected by the fire marshal for compliance with the life safety code prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy and annually thereafter. Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in a memo to me dated May 16th, 2022, offered the following comments. 1, applicant shall submit an application for a sewer discharge permit. A, number of full and part-time employees, and B, proposed use of facility. Number 2, capacity reserve fee shall be paid prior to the commencement of discharge. Fee, if applicable, shall be calculated upon receipt of item number 1. Number 3, owner shall certify there are no discharges of stormwater, either directly or indirectly, into the sanitary sewer system from the building. Stormwater discharges shall comply with City of Torrington Department engineering standards. A, owner applicant shall contact WPCA to inspect the building for compliance with chapter 170-14 of Torrington Code. B, owner shall submit to WPCA copies of all federal, state, and local permits as they pertain to wastewater discharges. C, contact James Hilton, 860-485-9166 to schedule inspection. 4, occupants shall use best management practices to minimize the amount of fats, oil, and greases that are discharged to the public sewer. 5, occupants shall use best management practices to minimize the use of phosphate-containing cleaners and detergents. 6, for additional information or questions, contact WPCA 860-485-9166. Building official Kevin Gillette, in a letter to me dated May 13th, 2022, recommended: 1, please provide the following information as applicable when applying for the required permits. Complete sets of IBC section 107 required construction documents as applicable, prepared by a registered design professional for all work to be performed. Complete life safety plan with occupant load. Complete plan for accessibility, including parking and passenger loading facilities. Complete mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans. 2, subject to review and on-site correction. 3, it shall be the duty of the permit holder or their agent to notify the building official that such work is ready for inspection. Conclusion, I recommend approval of the site plan application number 1411, 37 Technology Park Drive, to construct a new 9,360 square foot addition to an existing manufacturing warehousing building and associated site improvements with the following conditions and recommendations. 1, a grading easement should be granted to TMK Associates of Torrington LLC for work on the adjacent property, 91 Technology Park Drive, by the owner, Whitman Battenfeld Inc., for grading on the adjacent property. The easement shall be filed with the city clerk prior to issuance of a zoning permit for the project. 2, per Paul Cousins, city engineer, in his June 8th, 2022 email, the anti-tracking pad in the center of the parking lot on the plan should be eliminated, and a note shall be added to the final plan that all measures shall be taken to prevent tracking of sediment onto Commercial Boulevard, and the city street shall be cleaned daily in the event of tracking issues. 3, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in his memo to the city planner dated May 16th, 2022, with respect to sewer discharge. 4, it is recommended that the applicant follow advice of building official Kevin Gillette, contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13th, 2022. 5, it is recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Fire Marshal Edward Becerra, contained in his letter to the city planner dated May 13th, 2022, with respect to lock boxes and code compliance. 6, in accordance with section 8.4.3 and 8.4.6 of the zoning regulations, the following shall be submitted to the city planner. A, 2 paper copies of the full approved plans, including the engineer's stamp and chairman's signature box. B, 1 Mylar copy of the full approved plan set for filing with the city clerk in accordance with section 8.4.3.p of the zoning regulations. Each Mylar sheet shall bear a chairman's signature box, a copy of the approval letter from the commission, an engineer's seal, and a live ink stamp. Number 7, Mylar sheets shall be filed by the applicant with the city clerk after signature of the chairman and prior to approval of zoning permits to begin construction.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy, just a quick question in your conclusion. Number 1, a grading easement should be granted to TMK Associates for work on the adjacent property. That parking area is actually on the adjacent property.
Yeah, and actually the
It should be
attorney's
cross access easement too, no?
Yeah, that's what he's writing up the easement now. He's been
Okay.
working on it for a week. I was hoping to have that tonight.
Okay.
So what it's gonna do is if you look at that south property line, it's gonna run west
Right,
70 feet,
right.
run north 190 feet, and then back east another 70 feet. So that'll square off that entire area, and it's for grading, parking.
Okay. So it'd be all inclusive.
Pavement, it's all gonna be all
Okay,
inclusive,
perfect. Thank you.
including maintenance.
Yeah, okay.
All that's gonna be written into
All
it.
right,
So that
sounds
already
good.
is in the works.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Any commissioners have any questions or comments? Greg?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve site plan 1411. Applicant Borghese Building and Engineering, location 37 Technology Park Drive. Proposal, construction of a 9,360 square foot addition associated parking, and loading dock revisions with the following conditions and recommendations. One, a grading easement should be granted to TMK Associates of Torrington LLC for work on the adjacent property, 91 Technology Park Drive, by the owner, Whitman Battenfield, Inc., for grading on the adjacent property. The easement shall be filed with the city clerk prior to the issuance of a zoning permit for the project. Two, per Carl Cousins, city engineer, in his June 8th, 2022 email, the anti-tracking pad in the center of the parking lot on the plan should be eliminated, and a note should be added to the final plan that all measures shall be taken to prevent tracking of sediment onto Commercial Boulevard, and the city street shall be cleaned daily in the event of tracking issues. Three, it is recommended the applicant follow the advice of Ray Drew, Public Works Director, in his memo to the city planner dated May 16, 2022, with respect to sewer discharge. Four, it is recommended that the applicant follow advice of the building official, Kevin Gillette, contained in his letter to the city planner of May 13, 2022. Five, it's recommended that the applicant follow the advice of Fire Marshal Edward Becerra, contained in his letter to the city planner of May 13, 2022, with respect to lockboxes and code compliance. Six, in accordance with the sections 8.4.3 and 8.4.6 of the zoning regulations, the following shall be submitted to the city planner. A, 2 paper copies of the full approved plans, including the engineer's stamp and the chairman's signature box. B, 1 Mylar copy of the full approved plan set for filing with the clerk, city clerk, in accordance with sections 8.4.3.p of the zoning regulations. Each Mylar sheet shall bear the chairman's signature box, a copy of the approval letter from the commission, an engineer's seal, and live ink stamp. 7, Mylar sheets shall be filed by the applicant with city clerk after the signature of the chairman and prior to the approval of the zoning permits to begin construction.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Diane Harold.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 5, new business. A, site plan 1412, applicant Borghese Building and Engineering, location 187 Commercial Boulevard, proposal site revisions to accommodate new drive-in overhead door. Is the applicant in attendance, please?
My name is Alan Borghese. I'm chairman of Borghese Building and Engineering Company. I'm registered civil engineer. I believe that this application is relatively straightforward and does have some implications, but I want to chat about it a little bit. The people that bought this building is called East Coast Lightning. The Morgans are here, they're the owners of the business, and they're from Winston, and they bought what was FCT Electronics Building, and prior to that, Orgeson Universal. Interestingly, their business is, like it sounds, relative to a lightning related business. And what they have to do to make their operation feasible is they have to bring in copper rods. Copper rods are approximately 12 foot long. In order to bring them into the facility, there is one overhead door on the left side of the building, which has a drive-in, except if they brought it on that left side of the building into the building, they would have to turn the rods and to deliver it into the building and bring it into the building. And that aspect doesn't work. The second way that has a present overhead door is a loading dock to the extreme right side of the building. And again, bringing the rods into the building through a loading dock is not feasible because there's no way to unload them and bring them into the building. So what we're proposing is in the center of the front of the building, basically in the center, is install a 12 foot by 12 foot overhead door. They have a flatbed trucks that come in and they'll back into the building. They will actually unload the rods, store them in the building, and then deliver them as they need to their equipment to manufacture their lightning rod business. So what happened in the ensuing thing to make this work is there was an island, which as you could see in the parking lot in the front, and we have made the island a little smaller and to allow the trucks to go to the end of the parking lot on the front and then back into the building. And then we lost a couple of parking places, which we hatched on the drawing to allow the truck to leave safely. the facility. Now, it's interesting because FCT Electronics rented a parking lot to the left side of the property, and which has additional parking. They needed it because they had an extensive amount of people that were working here. And this particular business does not need that amount of parking, but they also extended the lease on that parking lot to use for their business. So they have really extra parking, but it was available, it was easily available, and it was inexpensive. So what we're doing is we've had a couple of plans, and what we're proposing to do is lose a couple parking places on the front of the building, shorten the island to allow trucking turning radiuses, leaving the light fixture that is in that yard, leaving the tree that's in that yard. And so the proposal is literally a minor site plan, I think, approval with modified parking. Other than that, the traffic, in my opinion, the traffic here will be actually a lot less than FCT Electronics. The interior of the building, we're making relatively minor modifications to room sizes. We are not adding any toilets or sanitary facilities. And one of our jobs is probably to upgrade the lighting, make the building more efficient, and continue to use substantially the way it is now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Borghese. Any commissioners have any questions at this point?
I do.
Go ahead.
How often will these rods be delivered to the facility?
Would you come up here and answer the question, please? And announce who you are, please.
And just please state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Morgan. I live in Norfolk, Connecticut. We have rods delivered 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
That often? Okay. I was thinking because it's such a dedicated overhead door that you wouldn't really need to lose those parking spots because blocking the door is really not an issue. You're not using it for anything else.
We will use the door for in and outbound UPS shipments as
Oh,
well.
so you're going to use it for something, not just the ride.
Yeah, no, it's convenient. It's a more convenient access point to the building than the door that's
Okay.
halfway down
I mean,
on the
that's fine.
side.
I just, that wasn't said, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So your rods come in an extended length and what they're cut and modified for specific entities, shorter pieces for rooftop mounts and so forth.
Yeah, most of them get cut down to 12 inches,
Okay.
but they come in as a 12-foot length. So they need to be loaded off of the side of the truck, not off the back end.
Right. So that truck is pulling right inside the building and offloaded inside.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other commissioners at this point? Before we go to Jeremy? Jeremy, you have a memo?
I do have a memo, but it's.
You had indicated there's a couple things.
Yeah, there's a couple of which I could read those items, just a couple of small items to be corrected.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna recommend that we wait on a decision until our next meeting on June 22nd.
Okay.
So what I've written down here, and there's some other comments that came in late in the day, which I'll talk to Alan about maybe tomorrow. But number one, so just a couple items I noted on here, which is on the first page. Parking tables should be added to the plan showing the new number of parking, handicap, and loading spaces provided in the new alignment and the compliance with the zone and compliance with the zoning regulations, section 5.13 parking. 2, a total of 83 parking spaces are on the site and in the leased area on the adjacent parcel. Based on the total number of spaces, section 5.13.4.d of the zoning regulations requires a minimum of 4 handicap spaces, one of which must be a van accessible space. Only 3 are marked on the current plans. An additional handicap space should be added and marked on the plans. And we did get some other sort of minor questions on landscaping relocations and some saving of some trees that are in the island, which I can just address with Alan between this meeting and next.
Okay.
Jeremy did indicate to me that the report wasn't in full, and they asked for modifications, which we will make for them on the next meeting.
Okay, so you're aware of it.
I'm
Very
aware
good.
of it.
All right. So that being said, we'll make a decision at a later date.
Yeah, we can just vote to table or
Yeah.
yeah.
Do I have a vote to table?
I'll move to table it.
Thank you, Greg. Do I have a second?
I'll second Diane.
Second.
Thank you, Diane. All those in
Second,
favor?
Donald Riley.
Greg,
Yeah.
Greg, can I address?
Please,
Can I address this about something else?
certainly, please, Alan.
Just in general. I've been requested to put a cell tower on my property.
Can we just before you get too far, maybe we'll just add this as a discussion item.
Yeah.
It's discussion.
Yeah,
on
let's do
to-
that. Let's close out this. We're all set with this. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
we're good. Okay.
So we
Just
can
hang loose for a minute.
we can make a motion to modify the
Yeah.
agenda to add discussion of telecommunications regulations.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you. Please proceed, Alan.
Thank you for your courtesy. It's an interesting thought. It's the property actually just north of this property. And it is right now a one big empty lot, neck between Altech and Northeast Lightning. And I was approached several months ago from a cell tower company. It appears that they don't have a lot of options on putting a cell tower that would cover the Winston Road area that now has a dead zone. Any of you that ate at Christie's would know that you can't be in Christie's and get a phone call. And I had trepidations, and my concerns are the following. My business is obviously to build buildings. I could put a cell tower up, and believe it or not, the economics of a cell tower are no longer that lucrative. According to our regulations, the fall zone of your cell tower prevents any buildings from being built anywhere near it. I had my office manager research, and she dug into, I believe, found 8 to 10 towns looking for regulations on cell towers. And it's kind of interesting because I could not find another town that had a regulation that says you cannot build a building within a fall zone of the cell tower. What I'd like to do in the next meeting, if we can, is research a change of our zoning regulations that would allow perhaps a building to be built. The loss to the city of Torrington of an industrial lot, I don't think benefits Torrington. A cell tower in today's world is a well-engineered thing like a tall building and will not fall down. And I would like to have everybody think a little bit about changing the regulation, allowing a reasonable development on that lot. I'm not talking a 20 or 30,000 square foot building, but maybe a 5,000 or 8,000 square foot building. And I think everybody, town and Borghese, would benefit. If it doesn't happen, I will still put the cell tower up. It would just be a shame to lose a good lot like that in this area. But so I'm just making a preface to get a mindset. And I seriously looked at many, many towns. Most towns don't even have regulations on anything for setback of a building from a tower. It's interesting. The Boys and Girls Club in Wallingford that we worked on had a cell tower 5 feet from the building. And as I drive around on Saturdays, which I do every Saturday, I drive by cell towers all the time that are right next to buildings. So maybe we can talk ahead of time a little bit and chat and get some unity on this, or maybe it's going to remain the regulation it is. But I would like to try.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
We haven't been involved in siting towers for quite some time. That's been given to the state. right?
No, we do, so we do have the regulations on the towers,
Yes.
citing the,
Not siting.
well, citing the cell nodes, we have no control over. The towers,
Who's on
the
it?
structures, the towers themselves, we have control over.
If the property is cited by the state as acceptable to have
Yeah.
a tower, then we regulate from that point.
Just the structure,
Just the
right?
structure.
Yeah.
So did you get approval from the state for the siting?
No, but
No, because
I
it
have to
falls
sign a
from the
lease
phone.
on it.
Because of the fall zone component? Then-
Right.
Well, let me-
Why would the state care about that?
No, we care about that. We have a fall zone regulation where, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we got 1,000-foot tower,
I realize it.
you can't have anything within 1,000 feet.
It's
of the
actually
fall
1,000 feet plus 50 feet.
zone. Okay, so,
You know, it's
No, I
interesting.
get what he's saying, but what I'm still, my question is more, pertains more to, you have someone asking you to put up a tower, a cell tower. So did the state siting council say yes to that? In other words, they've said, yes, that property is acceptable and we agree to cite it?
Greg, I have an agreement on my desk. After I sign the agreement, they have a period of time in which to get the siting council to approve it. So that's not done yet. I'm trying to preempt thinking here of, do I continue to try to market the property anyway, or do I just give up on it? And there is a waiting period. They expect it to be somewhere between 12 months and 2 years after I sign an agreement reserving the land for them. So there is a period of time here. And as I said to you, I had a lot of concerns. Was I doing the right thing? I believe our regulations, Jeremy, allow parking under a cell tower.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you why I say that. One of my real reasons for buying that piece of property was to protect Altech and make sure if they ever wanted to expand, I have the capability of expansion for them. But the cell tower itself will preclude them expanding the building. It will not preclude them from parking on the additional land. And I started landscaping it and digging it out, and that wasn't really something that was intelligent at that point. Anyway, to make a long story short, I'm trying to think ahead. I don't want to wait till after the siting council approves it and then run in here with a client ready and willing and able. A lot of the towns say that the cell tower must be at least 50 feet from a property line. I have not found one yet that talks about no buildings allowed. That talks about some of the other things that Torrington has. And you might find something I can't find.
Alan, I think one of the key components, if you're, coming forth with this, is how many towers have fallen?
That's the question I was just thinking too, yeah.
Cut and dry. I mean, obviously this is in place. My experience in antenna towers, cell towers, I've worked in Channel 61's antenna site, communication site management in Farmington area and so forth. These towers are constantly maintained, inspected, preventive maintenance done on them and so forth. Unless I think we really have a horrific earthquake or something like that. Yeah, that's going to take this thing down.
And I'll go further. This is not a tower where there's guy wires. Somebody cuts a guy wire and falls down. This is a tower with a big, we call it moment concrete base, huge base, 15 by 15 by 10 foot deep.
What's an anticipated tower height?
And they're supposed to be. They tell me they're designed for seismic. Because imagine a seismic event and then there's no cell towers around. Right.
Yeah.
It's a major communication thing. And it was interesting because it was told to me by the fact that under the new, and I don't know if this is true, it was told to me by Marty Connor, your predecessor, that the new highway traffic, self-driving cars are going to rely on towers to make them work.
Small cells mostly. Those.
And so this is a major, important need. It's not a frivolous thing. It is for safety and on and on and on we go. It's interesting. And by the way, I'm older than all you guys. I would have never believed this existed. This is Dick Tracy on his watch. So we know. But think about it, and maybe we'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
So I could just add a couple of quick things. I don't know if you noticed in the regulations, but with the fall zone, we do have the ability in the regulations by special exception to waive that by up to 50%. So if you have a 200-foot tower, we can waive that down to 100 feet. It gives us the ability to do that anyway. The other thing is I've handled rewriting regulations. We just rewrote that. I spent 6 months last year rewriting that regulation that we just adopted over the winter, and I've rewritten them for a couple other towns. And it's not so much the fall distance of the tower; it's also like blowing ice off the top of the towers that gets caught in the wind and blows across and lands on something. It's more than just the structure of the tower that's important for the fall zone, but I think that's part of the reason for the waiver that we looked at because if it's built on the side of a hill, well, you're not going to get blowing ice up a hill.
The fall, I think it's a 175-foot tower, and it fits in the 175-foot radius.
Yeah.
If I had the opportunity to be closer to a property line and not residential, I would tuck it up in the back further, which does two advantages. It raises it up, and number two, it gets out of the sight line of commercial boulevard and allows me to develop the front of the property. Again, these are all things that we together should consider and really think about.
Well, and I think, along these lines, I think that predates some of us here on the board.
And that's why we did
That's why we cleaned it up.
Well, when we first started this, and I remember it, cell phone towers were a huge problem to start with. So we created the regulations at the time, many years ago. And, ultimately what ended up happening is we were relegated to I mean, we used to do the citing, which was a real pain in the.
Yeah.
Now we're down to just regulating. I think it's worth looking at. Times change. Construction, engineering requirements are all very different as time goes on, technology improves. Doesn't mean that our regulations are necessarily in tune with the current site, current situation. So we should go
Yeah,
ahead.
let's look at it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do some homework. Appreciate maybe if you could look into it a little bit.
Mhm.
And in 2 weeks, we won't ask for passage. We gotta develop this regulation and see what happens.
Yep.
I thank you.
Just what I'm looking for on here is I don't believe it's a setback from a property line. It's a setback from a habitable building or a city, a public right of way.
Okay,
I'm trying to double check that, but
I
yeah.
would love you to. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, correspondence. A, discussion about new cannabis establishment regulations. We got a little
Yeah, I'm gonna try to
map here.
I'm gonna try to put this on the screen too.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
a question quickly?
Please.
It's Donovan. Did we get on the record the result of the last vote? I wasn't able to tell. But before
Item
the
number
question came in.
5A, there was no vote decision on that. It's going to be continued. Because they
Okay,
have some housekeeping
All right.
components that they have to get together and finish up their application. Okay?
okay. Was there a vote necessary to continue? Did we get?
Yes,
that?
yes, there
We need
was.
that on the record.
I think there was a vote. I think there was a vote to
Yes.
table.
Okay,
Okay, we
thanks.
had a motion to table and a vote. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Donovan.
Okay, so this map is the areas where you're allowing the siting?
I'm gonna pass this out too. I'm gonna have to apologize to everybody on Zoom. I didn't put up copies of the latest copies of the regulations. Regulation amendment. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I not? There, that's one. Oh, I guess I didn't double side them.
Okay.
It's just 2 pages.
Just 1 or 2. You got 1 or
Nope,
2.
hold on. All right. So we started briefly discussing this last meeting. I kind of presented to the commission that I think the easiest way to deal with recreational cannabis is to use our existing overlay zone that we adopted for the medical cannabis. The way this would work is we would take, just like this regulation, we would take an application to adopt the overlay zone on a particular site. Just like in a zone change where we require that 500-foot map, that 500-foot area map where they have to show all the zones around. This one, we would have to, if you look at the second page, this proposed section F, along with the map of the actual property, they would have to provide us a 500-foot map that shows all public parks, playgrounds, schools, recreational facilities, childcare centers, and libraries.
Yeah.
They would actually have to show the parcels that contain any of these uses.
This was the thing you spoke that the state had it at 1,500 feet and you modified it to 500.
So I was a little confused about that. So I asked around, and that 1,500 foot was just for advertisements of products in the windows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they couldn't put like the head shops do. They
Billboard
couldn't.
up or anything like that.
Well, it's not even that kind of signage. It's like when they put actual product advertisements in the windows of it. So they're not allowed to do that within 1,500 feet of all
I was
those.
just saying.
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the state has a couple different ones,
We
but
just touch upon that while you just mentioned that component.
Yeah.
We have a sign regulation
Mhm.
for an exterior sign on a building, or I guess interior sign, if you would.
yeah,
When these businesses add all sorts of signage and specials and,
Mhm. so they can't do that for cannabis.
okay,
It's against the law.
okay.
They can't do specials or anything like specials, big, product advertisements or anything like that. Even the signs that we approve, they can't have any leaves or anything like that on. They can only
It's very
say,
generic,
generic sign.
ABC cannabis.
Yep.
or Whatever it is.
Yeah, so no, the latest iteration of state statute disallows any kind of offsite signage. So we have these billboards now, but the state put a stop to that and said no more
Yeah. I saw that.
offsite billboards for cannabis or even
Especially
offsite
from out of
signs.
state, especially in out of state.
And I personally think that's part of the problem because basically between Hartford and the Mass line all the way up 84, that's all it is. The cannabis establishments bought up they're all out of state Massachusetts advertisements, and they bought up all the billboards on 84.
And it becomes moot at some
Yeah.
point, because as soon as we pass it as legal, then
They're done.
it's moot. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah, so that was what that whole 1,500
Yeah.
foot thing was
Okay.
about. Yeah.
All right. And I think from a signage standpoint, there's not a lot of reason to have signage at all, because if you have one facility, like we're only allowed one retail. facility.
We're not now. So that
Oh,
same,
they opened it up?
so the governor just signed that about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
It removed the limits on the
So
numbers per
now we
town.
can have as many as we want.
As many as the state will allow.
Thank
Yeah,
So they decide.
right.
Does that decide?
We
does that-
we decide on the locations. They decide on how many licenses, how many
Because
licenses.
it's
get
based
out.
on their applicants, whoever goes to them, because they have to approve the
Yes.
license.
Yeah, they approve their license. We
I
approve
mean,
where,
I don't really care.
we approve where it goes.
That means that they can,
Well, let me ask you this, on a local basis, if we're putting regulations in place, can we say, look, you know what, we're in favor, hypothetically, we're in favor of allowing cannabis sales, but you know what, we're gonna allow one,
Yeah.
or we're gonna allow two,
So.
whatever the magic number is.
So we can't explicitly do that in our regulations, but we could just say that we feel like we're maxed out on overlay zones. You know, we can't say like we can only have 3 or 2, because then we're treating one applicant different than another.
so
Yeah.
when they come in for they're coming in similar to what you would do with a zone change. You're coming in for
An overlay.
an overlay
Yep.
zone. And what's our normal process for, guiding us through the yays and nays of whether or not we do it?
It's what's in for the overlay zone. It's this 14.6.1. It basically just says, the intent is to minimize the impact of such development on neighbors and abutters in adjacent more restrictive zones, while at the same time recognizing the important services these facilities may provide to the residents of Torrington. So that
It's
covers,
pretty vague.
that covers the overlay.
Yeah.
But then because these are going to be all, I assume we'd be in agreement that these are going to be all by special exception.
Sure.
So then that whole other section of special exception standards
Yeah.
falls in
Right.
for that. So it opens us up to a whole nother list of standards.
So the curiosity I have is now that they've opened it up and the state will be providing the licenses.
Yes.
What guidelines do they go by regarding the number that they're going to allow in a particular town?
I think it's just like medical. They gave a certain number, then they inched a few more in, then a few more in. It's just what they feel comfortable with. I don't,
Does the state get a percentage of their sales too?
I'm not sure. I only know the local
Right.
percentage.
We're
Yeah.
getting 3.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure what the state takes.
They must take.
They gotta, they wouldn't do this otherwise. So,
Well, that makes me less comfortable with the arrangement, only because I don't like being told by the state that we're going to have to accept.
we don't have to accept anything. They're gonna grant the licenses. We control
don't have
the
to.
locations and where they go. Yeah, we don't have to, if we don't feel a specific site is suitable for an overlay, we have much more flexibility to deny an overlay than we do to deny a special exception. In terms of like, losing a lawsuit or something.
Well, that's my
Yeah.
main concern is that
Mine
I
too.
want to make sure that we have,
Denying.
I want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in court, and have to be forced into doing something we don't want to do.
So we're only allowing them, first of all, we're only allowing them in either local business or industrial zones.
Right.
And then we have the extra discretion wherever these tan parts of this map fall in.
Mhm.
So I should have had Dave mark it. He only marked the, and I didn't ask him to do this, but I should have had him mark the industrial zones too. Because you can have you know, in our regulations, it might not be as large, but you can have like a manufacturing facility that has like an accessory, a little accessory shop. or
Where's-
store.
Oh, yeah, we're not allowed retail in an IP.
Where's a reference point on
In
this,
IP,
Jeremy?
in
In I,
you are, but not in
not
IP,
in IP.
right?
And we're only allowing it in I and IP both.
I or LD.
Oh,
Okay, gotcha.
We do allow the manufacturers in industrial park, but they wouldn't, I don't think our regulations allow for that little retail component.
I don't think there's a lot of LV spaces available.
So it's all the blue, yeah, I mean, it's all,
local business.
oh, you mean
Within
actual,
that, I
actual-
don't think there's a lot.
yeah,
Right now, anyway. Obviously, change.
yeah. Yep,
So again, so we allow cannabis retail stores in a local business zone,
retail. Yeah.
but again, only by doing.
By doing a new overlay
New
first
overlay.
and then a special exception. So, and again, when they do those, when they apply for the overlay, they gotta show us every one of the uses that might be within 500 feet on that list.
Yes.
There has not been any documented issues with the medicinal, right?
No.
In the
Not that I've
last
heard of.
year or so.
Not around here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we did the review with the city council and our chief had done some research in Massachusetts, essentially there was no issues. at all.
Somebody got assaulted in the parking lot. One
One,
person. I
that
think.
was one.
Which
time.
I think had nothing to do with
Right.
The sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just,
Somebody owed somebody something.
So if we were to be proactive, if we were to take the LD zone and draw our own circles,
mhm.
then that'll narrow it down to where those potential overlay zones might be.
But we'd have to pull some other sort of, and we'd have to have something in our regulations that creates the new 500-foot circles. I don't know what that would be.
Well, we're gonna want to do that, right?
I don't mind saying I'm not in favor of putting, which is one thing the state has in putting places of worship in. I'm not in favor of that because then every pop-up church creates a new issue. It's not brick and mortar, big churches. It's
Right.
any place of worship.
Any place of-
Yeah,
And we've been approving a lot of those little
yeah,
facilities.
right.
But I mean, isn't that the goal? I mean, we do have F, which what we're saying is that if you're within 500 feet of any of these, the A through F items, then it would not constitute, an overlay zone.
Well, we're not saying it's a no, but the example I use is say you're 400 feet from a public park, but it's like over a mountain, through the woods, through a neighborhood. It's more than likely not affecting that
got you.
location.
Yeah.
But if it's 480 feet from a walking route to a school, we might care a little more about that. So it gives us a little flexibility to consider those kinds of things without having like a hard 500-foot separation. So.
Would it be too difficult for us to preemptively identify those there?
So Dave's done that on this map, and it just says regulated facilities. It doesn't say what they are.
Yeah.
So everything that's outlined in red is a property.
Everything that, it's hard for me to see that.
It's all, anything that's outlined in
Where are
red.
we?
Oh,
Or
I
A through
guess-
F.
Oh, where are we?
Yeah, I see
Like
New
that.
Harrington
Oh,
Road
okay.
here. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what some of this stuff is here.
Let's see if I can.
so one might be a library, like for instance, the library is downtown. So that-
No, it'd be a separate 500-foot.
I think this is First Assembly of God right here. I'm just trying to get a reference and a handle on.
Well, this is the high school, I think.
This is New Harrington Road where I live, right here.
Yeah,
I think, sorry, right here. I think this is First Assembly of God.
Yeah, right.
As a reference.
Yeah.
So the other thing to remember though is we're not allowing it anywhere in the downtown district.
Okay.
So if we're talking about anywhere down here, we wouldn't even consider it.
well, I just remember that what we were sensitive to was allowing medical, but we wanted it kind of on the outskirts of town.
Yeah. And I
And I don't
think,
want it downtown, as you walk around and all of a sudden there's a marijuana.
so there's some other things in downtown that even when we're outside the district would preclude it, that'd be the public parks. But I would say if someone's coming in here, even if they're up Main Street a little ways and they're, 100 feet from a public park, but, a little pocket park or something, we're probably not going to approve it.
Right.
But if we're up, like, if we're down South Main Street or up the top of East Main, maybe we'd be more willing to consider it.
Well, I mean, alcohol facilities are, we constitute, there are buffers, we have buffers for those too in terms of location.
Not anymore.
No more?
No, those were about 10 years ago. They were pulled out of the regulations. There's still a cap. The state still has a cap at the number that we can have in the city.
Yeah.
But where they go now is just,
So they can be located
If I
next
recall,
to.
the issue was as the crow flies versus, okay, you gotta get there from
well,
Avenue A to Avenue B to get to it and so forth.
I think the other thing was
The
all
setbacks.
the lawsuits and from some of the other, instead of competition, we were getting lawyers, which it happens in other towns too. The one thing we still have with those is, are you changing to like, are you going from something to a retail use? And that's the only way we look at them now, not that they're selling liquor.
Yeah.
Or
And the cultivation areas are allowed where?
just industrial or industrial park.
That's it.
Yep.
Period.
The only difference is, and I'll double check the regulations, but I'm pretty sure we can have that little, it's got to be like a kind of a small retail component in the I zone, but not in the IP zone.
Well, let's.
So
stop
we're
there for a
gonna,
minute.
if we allow lead growers in I and IP both.
You typically can't have retail in the I zone, if I recall.
So we have we allow an accessory, like a small accessory sales, can't be more than a certain square footage. So it wouldn't be like a store, it'd be like a small little room, or, it's like very small. I don't know, well, I have the regs up, but yeah, it allows for like a kind of a small retail that's accessory to the products, whatever the products they're making on site. So it wouldn't be, it's got a cap on the size of the square footage of, if you do it in I zone. You're gonna get a bigger retail space in LB,
And what's are you familiar with the parameter sizes of the cultivation, Jeremy? What they're saying, size wise?
You mean square footage, like of
Right.
manufacturing?
And that's gonna be another state approved thing.
Yeah, they approve the manufacturers and the number of licenses.
How are we situated for I and IP properties?
I wish I had him do that on this map.
I thought we were kind of capped out. We don't have.
Yeah, I mean,
We don't have a lot of available places.
it's Winstead Road, Allen's Industrial Parks, South Main.
There's some little bit of.
Yeah.
Maine.
There's not much left property wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
See, it's
Well,
good.
I would say we continue to refine, because the whole goal here was get it to a public hearing.
Yeah, and we were
Let's hear what-
tentatively talking July's
Right.
meeting.
Let's hear what the public is going to say.
Mhm.
And what kind of feedback. we get.
So I can get this, and for June's meeting, hopefully I can get this to a point where we're comfortable at least scheduling that hearing.
Okay.
So the way I'm hearing it is the regulations seem okay, but we might want to do a little more research in the maps.
Not for nothing. Anyway, if this could get blown up a bit, so we
Yeah.
can determine streets and kind of locations.
The plotter's broken. So I got it as big as I could.
You did great, you called it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is as big as I could print it out in our office because the plotter's broken.
We probably need a narrative that.
I'll do I would do a
that goes with
narrative.
this map so that people understand what exactly am I looking.
Yeah, I would do a narrative for hearing.
Yeah. Okay.
Based on what we discussed.
I'm gonna wait for that.
And that being said, and I don't want to, kind of reinvent the wheel. Maybe number these and say, ABC company, XYZ
Mhm.
company,
I can have them color code them a little different.
you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, really, and we can almost cut out half the city and just see if I
Right, yeah,
can, see if I get this piece.
Sure, blow that up
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, I think the important issue of the map is to identify clearly the areas that qualify.
Mhm.
Because that's the only thing we really care about is, well,
The only- well,
where
really-
would it go?
Really, the only things that don't qualify
Right,
for anything are downtown district and residential zones.
right. So
Because
that
we can examine with that, with this overlay zone thing, we can examine any other property. Doesn't mean we'll approve it.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's good about that is, like I said, it becomes obvious. No, this is blacked out, in this blacked out area.
You want one of those negative,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
plotter, negative plot maps. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
All right. I'll see what I can do with Dave.
And what's nice about that is it's clear what is off the chart and not acceptable.
Okay.
And then it's also clear what is.
Okay.
And people, I think, in the public hearing are going to want to know that.
Yeah.
The most important thing they're going to be looking for is, where's this going?
Mhm. And we don't necessarily know where people are going to try to put them until we get an application too. It's
Right.
just
But if
where
it's noted
where it's feasible.
Where it's a bit, where
Yeah.
it's possible.
Well, at least at this point, when we have a regulation that indicates local businesses, forget it, you can't put it there.
Mhm.
They at least understand, well, all right, I can't do anything in these areas.
Yeah.
So my only options are these other areas.
Mhm.
And that's by overlay zone and special exceptions. So
Yep. All right.
doesn't mean we'll say no, it just means we might have more conditions attached to it, right?
Yeah. And we, even for that, even for special exception, if it's near some other, either near a residential zone or some other, I guess I don't even know what the term to use, sensitive property. We have that control over screening and buffering and all that other stuff.
Are there
So,
minimum square footage requirements that the state saying a retail store has to,
No,
not that I know of for retail.
so no
Yeah.
size?
Nope.
there was no requirement on the medical. as I recall. The only thing I can see happening is I can see it, if it's anywhere near a residential piece of property, I can see that person being mad.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just brought up an interesting component though, Diane. In the regulations of the state and so forth, okay, hypothetically, there's a retail facility that's 2,000 square feet. John Smith wants to squeeze this into a 400 square foot space, but have a warehouse somewhere else with all the product in it that he's replenishing daily, hypothetically. Is that allowed?
yeah, I mean, I would,
You know what I mean?
I guess if he's got the license and he's not selling out of a storage space,
It's storage.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I mean,
Yeah.
that's warehouse.
as long as it's warehousing under your license.
You're not selling out of that.
Right.
It's not retail.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it doesn't, the new statute also doesn't allow, you can't give cannabis as a gift
No.
Right.
no.
or as an award or a prize.
Christmas present.
Yeah, right. No more gift bags. So, yeah, you
That
can't,
would
but you
be-
can't
that's
do, you can't
impossible.
have them in like a
to
raffle or something. You can't do any of that stuff.
As I said before, if you're allowed to grow, which you are
Mm-hmm.
personally, then that's giving.
Yeah, but, yeah. Right.
So we have to be realistic. That's
Sure.
not controllable.
There's not any businesses selling, cannabis gift baskets for Christmas.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're good with that for now?
I got some marching orders.
All righty. Moving on to agenda item, excuse me, any of the commissioners serving remote have any comments from our discussion here?
Oh, good.
We're good? All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to agenda item number 6B, zoning and blight violation update. We have anything there?
We don't, we did it, our new assistant planner started a couple weeks ago. Try to have him in, we'll see how busy July is, but either July or August, to at least introduce himself and maybe provide a short update on what he's been working on.
Yeah, FYI, Alan's not home yet.
No,
No, he's not home.
still
Yeah,
away.
Still in Florida.
I'll get Ashley in here too to sweat in front of you a little bit.
All righty. Time's 8:22, moving on to agenda item number 7, adjournment.
I am moving adjourned.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
So moved. Opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, see you then.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Stay well.
Yeah.